Hey, yo, what's up to everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable Talk. I am your host, C Money, and in today's episode, we're coming back to do an update episode. I did an episode last year it's probably around Black History Time, when I did an episode about gentrification in neighborhoods, and I did an episode here in the Liberty Square projects, which is also known as the Pork and Bean projects, and I want to give you an update on the projects. Now, since these buildings right here have been put up, and these are the buildings that I showed you. Now, I'm giving you an update on the last of the few buildings that are being torn down. Remember when I did the video, I was saying this is gentrification. One of the reasons why they was tearing down, this is one of the first big public housing projects in the United States. And from my research, this is one of the first public housing projects they had in the United States. And as you can see there, and as through the sound, there's major construction and renovations going on. We're gonna walk through a lot of this area. Now, a part of this reason why this is being gentrified, in my opinion, the main reason why is because of crime. As you know, that the Pork and Bean project is known for its high crime and high, violence. There's a lot of robbing, killing, shooting, and stuff like that. There's been a lot of killings, and also this is very popular because a lot of videos and music videos and things was recorded here and taped here. This is a child care center here. That was, if you saw in the back over here, is the Liberty Square Community Center. Now, we're also gonna take a walk Serenity at Liberty Square Leasing Office. Now, this right here is supposed to be a senior citizen living facility here. Like, they're doing a lot of this in phase. Now, as I said recently, there was supposed to be talks and of their approval of several projects here. There was supposed to be a supermarket here, as well as they're supposed to have Wi-Fi and things like that and all of that. Now, I don't know how true this is. They do have bus services that come in here, 2 bus services, the 12 and 21 that comes in here. Liberty Square Resident Services, that means this is probably where the office is at. Eastern Sears, Liberty Square Child Care, that's right there. You get free services if you want child care. They do. The rent office used to be behind this building when they used to have the Pork and Bean projects, but they recently tore it down, and one of the buildings now sits one of the buildings, like the rental offices, I believe, sits inside these buildings, like the rental. I had a former co-worker that used to stay in one of these, but the ones towards the back end, and I have a friend that stays in one of these as well. Now, as you can see, and I'm gonna get you up close to the last few remaining. Now, this one right here is basically like a music room. I think I did a video about it. Let me go across the street and see. This is probably going to be one of the last few to get torn down, because what they did with this one is they took this one and turned it into basically, well, no, actually the door is open, so this is going to be torn down too. You see that this color is green because this was like a thing. You see it says related urban, where we stand, and they have another one over here. We're gonna go over here. We're gonna show the other one on this way, and then we're gonna come back over and go around. This is the Miami-Dade County Urban artists in residency. This is one of the places, because this is where they used to, this was like a program themed like spot where they, I guess, for young people. I don't know what it is about. If you know what it's about, if you've ever been here, you know what it's about, let me know. But this is a part of like a program for young artists, or maybe artists trying to make it in the industry, and they was trying to build things in the community. So I don't know what it is. I've always seen it when I've walked by, and I've always seen like the area, but I honestly can't tell you what it is. So we're gonna cross the street here. Basically, right now they're demolishing the last 20%, or should I say 30 or 20% of these buildings. Now these buildings have all been vacant for quite some time, because they give, like when they bulldoze projects, a lot of people, 99% of the people in these projects are on Section 8. Well, 95 to 99% of people that are in projects are on Section 8. And what they do when they bulldoze or they close the projects down, they give the people vouchers. And the vouchers give them the right to go to other areas, meaning that they can, I believe they have a few options. I know one of the options is they can actually go to another project, like go move into another urban project area, and they probably also give them the option of moving into to an actual apartment building that's not owned by the county, meaning Section 8 or public housing and stuff like that. Now, as you can see, you probably can barely see, but this is being torn down right now, and as you can see, it's kind of get messed up because the electrical work here. You also have this over here where they are torn down. This is the last of the Liberty Square housing projects. Now, if you want to see how Liberty Square housing projects look back then, go on YouTube and look up pictures and videos of it, and you can also probably Google it, because they're going to have a lot of pictures and videos. When I first did the video, I think last year, a lot of these were still up, and I was telling you how they were gentrifying these things like that. Now the remaining buildings are coming down to where now they're going to be stopped. See, these are a lot of the buildings here. These are the remaining buildings. There's about 10% of the buildings left here, and there's only like 2%. There's 10% of buildings that are still up, whether they're partially up or fully up, because as you can see, the buildings that sits back there, that's close to 62nd Street, the buildings that sit back there, they're basically still fully up. And then you have partial buildings like the one right here that is partially up, meaning that half of the building is still standing, just like the one over there that we crossed the street from. The building is partially up. And then you have 2% of buildings that are still partially up, like the one that has the arts and residency building, and the ones that we just seen right there, the 2%. Now, a lot of these buildings, they've been here since the early 1940s, 50s, 60s, whatever. Do your research, go check it out and everything. This is one of the stops this is one of the stops on the Black History Tour, and that is coming up within the upcoming weeks, because this is Black History Month, and they will be doing Black History Tours, and they do make a stop over here to the area. They just ride by and stuff. I've had an opportunity of doing the Black History Tour. If you've seen my episode last year, I did a few short videos of the Black History Tour and certain at certain buildings and stuff, and I'll probably be doing another one because I will be attending the Black History Tour this year as well. And this is partial building. Now, a lot of these people, most of the people got pushed to the south, because a lot of projects on the northern end, whether it's Opalaka, Miami Gardens, Cal City, Liberty City, Overtown, a lot of the projects are being gentrified and being remodeled and being gentrified in what we now know as, gentrification. So a lot of these buildings are they're being changed from this to this. So, as you know, and I know there's a lot of people, I've seen videos on social medias and stuff like, what happened to the Porcupines? What happened to Liberty Square? It's changed. it didn't change for the bad. It changed for the better. Now they have 24-hour security, meaning that they have a security guard in a car that drives around the area. And these apartments here have gates that have codes and stuff like that, that you punch in to get inside these gates and stuff like that. They have codes and stuff like that, so you can actually get inside these buildings and stuff like that, or you have to have a key card or something like that. See, Liberty Square elderly coming soon. That's going to be an elderly building. I thought it was the one over there that I've seen earlier, but I think this is the one. Elderly building. They're building up this area, and it's going to be a new housing. It's always been called Liberty Square, for the professional sense it's Liberty Square, but in the urban sense, meaning us Miamians, we know it as the Pork and Bean Projects, because that's the Liberty Square Community Center and things like that. So this is what's left of it. Now I see they're doing these in sections, because this right here is being built. This is probably part of the Liberty Square elderly complex. They have a lot of, because a lot of these are different complexes. Remember, some of these project houses, they was 2 stories. Some of them had upstairs, where the kitchen was downstairs and the bathroom and the bedroom is upstairs. I knew somebody who stayed in the old ones, and they stayed over in this area. And matter of fact, I think it was this street here, and they stayed in the 2-story projects. And you had to go upstairs to get to a bedroom. My brother's ex-girlfriend, may she rest in peace, she's no longer with us, she's in heaven. She stayed in a similar one in the south area near Goose, because they have a similar project area down south, which I'll probably go and take a walk through within the upcoming, later on down the line. I'll probably go take a stroll down there. And she had an upstairs, and a lot of these projects had upstairs building. Well, a lot of these projects was like, they had a 2-story where the living room and the kitchen was downstairs, and you go upstairs and there's a bedroom and things like that and all of that. And you got one that had just ground floor and stuff like that. But yeah, these projects here, they have been here since the test of time, and a lot of people are happy about it. I'm kind of happy about it, because this does pull crime down to where now and then you literally, there's people that's moving into these project areas where they're gentrifying. It's not the same people, because now a lot of these project areas, you can't afford to live in these areas now. Back then, back then you had $300 and $400 apartment complexes where you only paid $300 and $400 a month. Now you're paying like $800, $900, $1,000 a month. I know a friend of mine who stayed in, an ex-coworker of mine who stayed here. They was paying like $1,300 for a 2-bedroom in the new ones. I'm quite sure in the old ones they was paying like $500, $600, and stuff like that, and things like that. So a lot of these buildings are being gentrified to where, now they're being more safer for the community, because now less crime is here. You have 24-hour security, which I've seen, and you also have secure entrances to get in, whether they have a pass key or a password to get inside the buildings and stuff like that. But it's time that modern day, and I know a lot of people out there saying, I've had memories of the Pork and Beans, I have memories of these projects, I have memories of that project. But at the same time, you realize a lot of things. I've seen a lot of people get killed in these projects. I've seen a lot of people get robbed in these projects. I've seen a lot of people that were scared to come in these projects because they felt like their lives or their essence or their well-being was going to be taken from them. I knew some people that have lost people, not just in these projects, but in other projects as well, where it traumatizes people. It makes people, fear. I can say now I can walk through here without being scared to walk through here. One night I walked, and this was years ago, and I don't know if it was before they started doing the construction here. This is 62nd Street, and one day I was walking down 62nd Street, and they had these little bars right here, the little metal bars, not this gate. This gate got put up when they started doing construction, but these little bars here. And I was walking down 62nd Street, and this was at nighttime, and then I heard bullets hit hit one of these little metal bars, these metal gates, and I was like, you know what? It's time for me to go. It's time for me to get, where I need to get, because I always used to be, if I had to go somewhere and it was on the northern side of the pork beans, I had to go somewhere, and the best way to do is to cut through the beans. I would never cut through the beans. I'll find an alternative route, because I would never try to walk here, especially 11, 12, 1, 2 in the morning. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be caught dead walking through the pork beans, because you either liable to come, because I've seen situations where people be walking in the wrong place at the wrong time, and people pull up on them and stuff like that. I've had an incident where I knew somebody that they was walking. This wasn't in the pork beans. This was somewhere else, where they ended up walking, and some guys pulled up on them and say, hey, this is my block, and they like, you got to get off this block and stuff like that, because it was a lot of I want to say dope holes. I'm not trying to rat anything or not trying to put anything out, because this is a public show. So there was a lot of areas where they sold drugs and stuff like that, and if you walked on their turf and they were like, yo, you got to get from around here, you drawing too much attention and things like that. That's how it used to be back in the day, and stuff like that. A lot of you probably know about that, because y'all live in urban areas, not just in Miami, but it could be California, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Texas. A lot of these spots where they have, urban areas where, it was real bad where the crime is. I've seen, TV shows like Everybody Hates Chris and Good Times, and a lot of these shows that show these urban areas where people be scared to walk and come into the neighborhoods at night, or people be scared to go into these neighborhoods and talk to these people and hang out in these neighborhoods, because they be scared of, of the crime and stuff like that. So this is what it is. So yeah. Oh, and coming up to 62nd Street, we're going to do 62nd Street as our last stop. There are a few gentrifications, through 62nd Street, but it's okay. It's cool, because this is what, gentrifying is. Communities are going to be changing. You're not expecting everything to last forever. You're not expecting, like I've said it before, you're not expecting shopping centers and shopping malls and grocery stores and businesses to last forever. See, this store was open. This store has opened and closed so many times to where it's a shame. And then they have this other store, which was called the Dana Market. They're doing renovations because they closed it. Next to the Dana Market, it used to be a radio station called Pure Funk DJs that was there. I don't know if they're still in service, but if you do look them up online, it will give you this address to where their radio station was. It was an underground radio station. If you don't know about underground radio stations, look it up. It's one of those radio stations that's local, that you can only hear in certain areas. It's not like a big time radio station where you can hear it, in Miami, you can hear it in Fort Lauderdale, you can hear it, it's one of them local radio stations where if you're in Liberty City, you can hear it. If you go to Opelika, you can probably hear it in certain areas. It's one of those, underground radio stations. And if you look them up, it'll tell you, because they wasn't just a radio station, they was also an entertainment company where if you need them to, DJ for your party, they'll DJ for your party, or like for certain events, they was like that as well. And they're based here. And it was a laundromat that was here as well too, but the laundromat eventually, got closed. So that whole shopping strip is being remodeled. I don't know what they're gonna put there, and I can't tell you what they're gonna put there, stuff like that. Because this is 62nd Street, which is also known as the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, as you can see right here, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and stuff like that. So, okay, if you have any memories of the Liberty Square community projects, if you've ever been here, have you ever been to the new Liberty Square, have you been to the old Liberty Square, comment at the bottom of this page. You can also email me, rontable00@yahoo.com. You can actually see that they are actually building more stuff here. So they're going to be, this is probably the last phase they're going to, because I'm quite sure next they're going to be building over here, and then they're also going to be building over here as well. There's another community project that, by the time they started doing construction, I wasn't doing history and hotspots and all that. My show wasn't actually on air. They started gentrifying another location, but we're probably going to do a video of that. And I probably did mention it in one of my videos, because I did a video of Green Cherry Park, and it's a area called Scott Projects that I probably mentioned, but if I didn't, I'm going to do a video about it. But as you can see, you can hear them tearing down a lot of this, and I'm quite sure you can find a lot of stuff. If you used to go through these buildings, you'll find a lot of stuff that people left. Toys, furniture, a lot of the stuff that they couldn't take, because you know what, a lot of people, when they move out of an apartment, most of the time they leave the furniture and stuff, like most of the stuff there that, you know, is no good or they couldn't carry with them and stuff like that, and then they just restart all over. But yeah, this is the Roundtable Talk. Email me, roundtable00@yahoo.com. You can also comment at the bottom of this page. If you've ever been to the Liberty Square Projects, if you've ever seen the video in the Liberty Square Projects, because there's several videos, even a video I've told you about PM called Paradise Life, you can check it out. This is the Roundtable Talk. As always, stay safe, stay blessed, stay hydrated, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.